Hey, so obviously it has been a little bit since my last video. Hopefully none of you guys are too peeved about that. To be fair, I am a writer, not a YouTuber. Therefore, this hasn't taken precedent over my writing. But at the current moment, I'm feeling really good just in general. So I had some extra time today, so I figured I might as well give you guys a monthly update. It also kind of helped me helps me keep connected with you guys, and that's a good way of just sort of promoting transparency. If you guys understand where I'm at, then it kind of, I don't know, probably helps you guys relate to me and what I'm doing and stuff. It also kind of explains why there's lulls in writings and stuff like that. So, this video will basically be detailing a monthly summary. It'll also give you guys an update on me personally and explain any upcoming goals I have. So, on to the monthly summary part. First off, as you all already know, I kicked this month's ass. Ugh. At least in my opinion. I got out 48,000 words, which is awesome because in my opinion it's high quality stuff, and I've been relatively rigorous with my editing and with trying to iron out the narrative and make it as good as I possibly can, which is awesome. And I have also started waking up at 4 a.m. to accomplish this. So one of the strangest things about this quarantine, so I don't want to make my videos political ever, so this will probably be the only time I ever bring it up, just because it's necessary for context. But anyway, during the quarantine, a lot of people around me were getting their sleep schedules kind of trashed. They're just a mess. And it makes perfect sense. If anyone's going to understand how difficult it is to organize a sleep schedule whenever you don't have any structure or support for forming a sleep schedule around something, then it's going to be me, because I've had that for the last several years, ever since I started to work full-time on my Patreon. Or really on my book, but the Patreon is the monetization tool I use for that. Regardless, I've never had a really locked-in, consistent sleep schedule, pretty much ever. Here recently, I have locked in a very intense sleep schedule of waking up at 4 a.m. every day and going to sleep at 8 p.m. every night. It's strange. It's like clockwork. I go to sleep, I wake up, and I follow this morning routine that I've developed, which involves handling all of my hygienic practices and then moving on towards other stuff, and mainly writing. And what I'll do is I have 2 1-hour sessions every day that I spend in writing. The best, I know some of you guys might be a little surprised by that, just because with the volume of writing that I've been basically pumping out, some of you guys might have expected me to work more than that. I would compare my writing towards sprints. It's not something I can do all day. And it's definitely not something that I can, if I did do it all day, I wouldn't be able to keep that up for very long. This leads towards burnout, which I've experienced in the past. And I've tried to overreach and try to write longer periods of time, and it's never worked. I've never written better doing that, and I've never written more doing that. So I'm going, this specific cycle of productivity, I'm just going to be focusing much more so on consistency, which I'll detail later on in this video, which is already a little too long. Regardless, I also have tried out a new editing style. Normally, before, I would just go for grammar errors, imperfectly, as some of you guys know, and point out in the comments, and thank you guys for that. But the other aspects of my editing that I've added recently are to make it so that it livens up the process, because I don't like editing. It is horrible compared to the writing. The writing, I'm invested, I'm immersed in what's actually happening, and that makes it exciting. It makes it so involved and engaging. And editing is nothing like that. It's not even close to like that. And so it's a drag. So in order to rectify that, I've decided, hey, might as well add something to it. So one of the things I'll do is whenever I finish a chapter, I'll go through it, skim past the paragraphs just to kind of remember what I wrote about, really get it fresh in my mind so I can like pull all that information and hold it. And while I'm in that sort of pool of chapter state of mind, what I'll do is I will think of tweaks or adjustments or things to take away that can add or detract from the chapter's value, and then I go in and I cut that stuff out and add some extra stuff, and it adds a bit of depth and nuance towards the writing itself so that the scenes should feel more well-rounded, and it also makes the chapters longer, which you guys seem to really enjoy. I prefer using longer chapters, but just understand that there's a lot of incentive for me to use really short chapters. The reason being is that most services promote a much more rapid release rate than I can do whenever I pump out like an 8,000 word chapter. There's no way for me to do that every day. That's almost physically impossible, because I'd literally get tinnitus in my hands. So that being said, I prefer giving you guys quality over quantity. Both, if I can. But that's just to say that, this new editing style is new for me. So let me know if there's any hiccups with it, because I can adjust and tweak that specific approach as I need to. The next thing would be, an update on me personally. So I mentioned the sleep schedule change. The other things that I've changed is that editing, I'm feeling good. I'm just feeling good. That should be implied by my production this month. I've really kind of turned things around this month. I've gotten everything in order, and it feels strange. It's a weird sensation. I've lived in like this haze as far as sleep is concerned, where the times that I sleep are so variable that days have just bled together. And here recently, that has not been the case. By injecting a sense of structure in the form of sleep into my daily routine, it has enabled me to create like this solid foundation that I can push off of from a productivity standpoint. And that's really helped me in regards towards my output of writing, my consistency with my diet, and a lot of other goals I've had. So it's something I wish I had done earlier. But if you guys, during this quarantine, you guys have probably experienced the exact same difficulty that I'm mentioning in regards towards sleep. And it's just something that's difficult to maintain whenever you don't have a supporting structure that enables it to continue. Regardless, I've also set some new PRs in the gym, surprisingly. So I did a calisthenic program during the entire quarantine event, and it worked out really well. I've been running sprints and stuff like that, so that's been feeling really good. And I even was able to, just get everything in order, which is awesome. It's kind of made me understand that I might have been limiting my potential a little bit by just setting my limits too low, because I never imagined I would be able to put out this kind of content at this rate, because to me, this is some of my best work. Now, you guys are welcome to disagree, but on a personal level, the actual substance of the content aside, whether or not you like the specifics that I'm dealing with right now, the quality of the specifics is high. And that means that I'm very proud of it, and I feel really good about it. Hopefully you guys do too. But regardless, this is all because of consistency, which is really my next upcoming goal. I am not adding anything more to the table. What I'm doing right now is working for me. It's working really, really well. So instead of trying to overreach and let my ambition run wild, I'm going to sort of muzzle it or chain it down so that I'm not just put into a state of burnout because I don't respect my limits. Because I do have limits, and there's only so much I can do, and I feel as though by working around those limits, I will enable myself to be more productive in the long term. And that's what really counts, at least for me. I don't want to write for the next year. I don't want to write for the next 10 years. I want to write for the rest of my life. And that means I needed to come up with a system that is replicatable, that allows me to be as creative and as driven and intelligent as I can be. Now, that's difficult to do. and that's difficult to maintain. So in the end, by not changing anything, I'm accomplishing a goal in and of it. That's kind of accomplishing a goal in and of itself. So that's the reason that's my new goal. Just consistency, because if I keep this up, that'd be excellent. If I did 48,000 words every month, to give you guys a frame of reference, most of my chapters fall within the 3,000 word limit, or within a 3,000 word line. Here recently, that's not been the case at all. And these chapters are massive. They are huge. And so I added them all up into a monthly summary report, and I checked it out. It was like right at 48,000 words. So that'd be equivalent to 16 chapters, right? Which is actually more than a chapter every other day, which is awesome. Like, that is a very impressive total for me, right? Respective towards my history and limits. The only other month I think that's even comparable is like November or October of 2018, nearly 2 years ago. And that means I have at the very least, hit my personal best for 2020. And my goal isn't to exceed that next month. It's to meet this exact same standard and to keep it up into the long term, because you guys deserve it too. You know, you guys have been supporting me for so long, and I really, really deeply appreciate that. I've been really struggling these past couple months to keep focused on what really matters to me. And I know that some of you guys might feel taken advantage of, or might feel as though I haven't been orienting myself towards, writing and, being productive. And if you guys do feel that way, I agree. I think so too. It's a shame, and it sucks. And know that I do not want to let you guys down either, because whenever I let you guys down, I'm letting myself down too, honestly. So it's like there's it's like compulsion in my head that if I don't work that day, I feel bad. And if I do work, I feel good. So it's not something I can control, I don't think. It's like I think in the psychological spectrum it's referred to as conscientiousness. And that basically just means how conscious I am of my behaviors and actions. And I think it's very high on, if I was to take a psychological exam, it would be extremely high on that. So it tends to dictate industriousness and productivity. And while I might not be the most industrious and productive person, I do feel an intense desire and drive to be productive. So hopefully I can fulfill that within myself by being consistent with this. Regardless, I'm planning on keeping up these monthly summaries just once a month. Nothing too fancy. I know I tried to start up a YouTube channel and keep that going. It was a lot harder than I imagined it would be, because planning out these videos, it takes up time, and it takes up a lot of effort, because I don't write out scripts, because my articulation and public speaking is good enough that I don't really need one. But I do come up with like a little summary and outline. I would show it to you guys, but my handwriting is horrific. So ironically enough, I'm a writer, but I can hardly write by hand. So thank goodness for keyboards and whatnot. So regardless, hopefully you guys have been not just satisfied, but very pleasantly surprised by this month. And in the future, I intend to replicate this time and time again. So thank you all for supporting me, and for supporting me these past few months. It means the world. See you guys later. One soon out.